Here we're going to learn how to set up an ordering alert depending on how much you have in stock. So, and this is going to be using conditional formatting. So we're going to start with reordering point, and we're just going to add a new section. It doesn't have to be open. As you see, I've scrunched all these down, but since I'm working with them, I'm opening them up. Then we just want to make up a reordering point for everything. So some of these we can be like, okay, when do we want to reorder any of these? And just to make up some numbers. There. Now we just have a table that we can work with. Just make it quick, make it work. Okay. Now that we have the reordering point, now it's time to go to the dashboard and add our alert. So to do that, first I need to insert a couple rows so that we can have something to work with. And I'm going to merge these and merge these so that it will go across the box and look good in the dashboard. Now we're going to put in the formula. So the first one we're going to put in is we want to set up a order more. So we're running low on stock. It's time to order more. So if, this will be using an if statement, but we need to look up some things for the if statement to work. So if VLOOKUP, and we're going to use the item name. So if the VLOOKUP is going to equal, let's anchor that. And then we got to go to our table that's going to have the information that we need. So the table I want to use is going to be this one here. And I'm just going to go down a little more just in case other stuff gets added. We're going to anchor that. And then we're going to say column 4. So what we're trying to pull is column 1, 2, 3. We're trying to pull the current inventory. Starting here, this is column 4. So we pull the inventory, but we're not putting the inventory in the cell. We're just looking it up and pulling it. Once we've pulled the information, we then want to say, is it less than or equal to, time to do our VLOOKUP. So let's go back to the dashboard before I go too far. Okay, so if it's less than or equal to VLOOKUP, and we are now looking up the jewelry box again. We are going to anchor that. We are going to pull the table again. We are going to anchor that. But now we are going to take column 5, which is the reordering point. So we want to know if it's less than or equal to what has been listed as the reordering point. So after doing that, then it's just comma, what are we saying? We're saying order more, exclamation point. But if it's not true, we want it to do something else. Otherwise, it will return the value of false, and we don't want that on our dashboard. So we're just going to put a blank in quotes. And that way, if it doesn't say order more, it's just going to stay blank. Now, press enter, and now we've got our formula here. We can test it and say, okay, does this formula work? Well, what is out of stock? Oh, here we go, order more. The ornaments are running low on stock. So that formula works. Now, if we want to put something else, so say we want to put down if something is completely out of stock. Now, nothing is out of stock, so let's just create a new item. And this is going to be an item that's not currently in stock. So we'll go, this should equal that. Oops, it's not formatted. Okay. under currency. There we go. Okay, we'll give it a label. We'll say that we have 0, and our reordering point is going to be 2. And we'll just make that pretty, because I can't help myself. And let's say we just recently got an order in for this, so June 5th, 2021, we've got an order for Dragonfly, and it's an order for 1, and we're just going to copy this down. So there we go. Now I've added my new inventory here, which means it should show up in here, right there, June 5th. So now when I put that, we've got order quantity of 1, but it's in stock 0. So we want it to say, not only do we need to order more, but we want a bigger alert that's going to say, hey, we're out of stock. So here's if VLOOKUP, and we're going to take this guy again, anchor him, and we're going to take our table again, anchor that, and then we are going to take our column 4, and we're going to say if the current inventory is equal to 0, then we want it to say out of stock, exclamation point. If not, we want it to remain blank. So there we go. Oh, I think I added an extra space in there. Nice thing is I look at it, and whatever the correction is, I think it was the extra space or an extra quote, it's going to correct it. And now that doesn't work. So we're going to take that. It wants to add in an extra quote. Oh, I see. No, we're not going to accept the correction. If you don't accept the correction, you can go in and fix it yourself if you see what the problem is. Okay, comma, we got 0, and we too many arguments. And there it is. It was a parenthesis. So sometimes little things can get in the way, and so you just check and say, okay, now I've got order more out of stock. If I change it, it's going to vanish. If I go to something else that just needs ordering, it'll say order more. So now I want to format these so that they're going to pop out. So let's start by formatting the order more line. We're going to go to format cells that contain blanks. So then when it's, or sorry, no blanks. When it's not blank, it will format it, and when it is blank, it won't. So then we're going to say, okay, for this, we want the font to be black. We want it to be bold. We want to fill it with a color, but we don't want it to be like too crazy. So let's pick a gray and maybe a pattern. Let's make this a lighter gray. There we go. So now we've got gray with a pattern. Make it black and bold. And then we get a little visual what it would look like. And we say, okay, we like that. And we can always change this to be a little bit bigger. So that's going to pop out. Now we want to format the next cell for out of stock. So go back to cells that contain no blanks. Format. Now this one we want to stand out a little more. Let's make it white. Go to the fill and make that a red, because if we're out of stock, we want it to be a big deal. And make it black. Let's use the same pattern style. There's a whole bunch to choose from. but this one kind of is like a cross stitch type pattern, so I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say okay. Now that's not going to show up unless I'm out of stock, but I still want it to be bigger. So let's say 15, and let's also make sure it's the Calibri. Calibri, size 15, bold. Let's go a little bit bigger than 15. Let's go 17. There we go. So then when we're out of stock, that's going to pop up. I think I like the 15 better, because the red is what's going to catch your attention more than anything else. So now we've got our conditional formatting. For the Dragonfly, where there's nothing in stock and it's below the reordering point, it's going to say order more and out of stock. For something else like the jewelry box, it's not going to say anything because we are fine on that one. But for something like the ornament, it's just going to say order more, you're just running a little low. So there is conditional formatting with the dashboard to be able to set up a little alerts on your dashboard when things change, but linking it together with what you've already got set up.